Hey guys, welcome to episode 8 of the GridCast. I am your host, Danny Cox, and with me is my co-host. He's a box owner and a grid enthusiast, and his mantra is, as long as he yells surprise, everything is good to go. His name is Conan Bruce. Conan.
Surprise!
Surprise!
Yeah.
So we just got back from the L.A. and Boston Pro Days, which was pretty amazing. Awesome
Well,
host.
you guys got back from L.A. I was in sunny Cancun with my lovely wife
What a
for
dick.
her birthday.
What a dick.
Watching you guys on YouTube.
You're such a jerk. So,
Here's to
what are you
LA.
sipping on? What are you sipping on today?
So, Conan from Northern Virginia.
That would be you.
He wrote in and said, you know what? My favorite beer is Pabst Blue Ribbon. I don't know why I'm pointing that label. That's from
You're drinking
Lost
Pabst
Rhino.
Blue? I am too. Well, you had a choice of Bells and Pabst Blue Ribbon. But
Yeah, you know what? It's
PBR all the way.
How many awards did it
It's more
win?
American.
It's America.
America.
It's America. That and Fireball whiskey.
Well, guys, so today on the show, in Quadrant 1, we're going to talk about the NPGL signings for all the existing teams. And then for the expansion teams, we're going to go into Quadrant 2 and talk about what the new signings are going to mean to the teams and how the league may be changing.
So expansion teams, Baltimore and Carolina.
In Carolina, right. And then in Quadrant 3, you had the awesome opportunity to talk to the Phoenix Rise head coach, Mike Lee.
Yep. Great interview. Great guy working at OPEX. We'll talk more about it in the interview.
Yep. And then in Quadrant 4, we're going to talk about all the upcoming pro days in D.C., Miami, Charlotte, and San Francisco.
Let's do this.
So let's do it. Let's head on over to Quadrant 1.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the GridCast. Here we are in Quadrant 1.
Yes, sir. Okay, so the NPGL has been signing like crazy, all these teams. So we're going to start going over them a little bit. So New York Rhinos, Miami Surge, and Boston haven't joined in the whole agent signing, but they are changing up with their coaches. So New York Rhinos, for instance, Ian Berger will now be the general manager exclusively instead of being the general manager and the head coach. And then you have the Miami Surge. Miami Surge hired Doug Chapman, and he is a coach of multiple different games athletes. And then also the Surge, even though they haven't signed any athletes quite yet, they are rumored to sign someone absolutely huge for the sport.
Huge as in big?
Big boy, too. But we can't really get into specifics there because it's not all
Gotta
official.
wait for it's announced.
But it's going to be amazing. And then you got the Boston Irons. So Josh Plosker, owner, GM, was co-coach last year. He's now going to be the head coach. And Justin Wright, who was the coach, is now turning an athlete, and he's attending all the pro days, hoping to be picked up by someone. Our guess is Boston Iron will more than likely pick him up.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
anyway, okay, so let's talk about the players who were signed. So you got Phoenix Rise. You had Blaine McConnell. He is a former football player in Division I with Idaho and currently plays in the Arena League. This dude's 5'11". He back squats 515 pounds, deadlifts 550. No schlub there. Clean and jerks 395, and snatches
325 snatch. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, and he didn't attend any of the pro days. All of this was done just off of video. And Phoenix Rise said, he's pretty badass. He also cranks out handstand push-ups like none other. So that mug is already picked up by Phoenix Rise. He's going to be fun to watch. So in L.A., while we were there, actually was kind of cool. While we were filming with Barbell Shrugged in the last episode, James Townsend was actually getting signed at the start of our Quadrant 2.
While it was going on.
Yeah,
I missed all
really
kinds
cool.
of fun stuff, man.
You did miss a lot of cool stuff. The crowd was going absolutely bonkers. And James Townsend is pretty freaking amazing. He was a football player at Rutgers University. He was also a free agent in the NFL. And last year, he actually attended the combine and did not get picked up, which added a whole lot of fuel to the fire. He was pretty pissed that he wasn't picked up. And so this entire past year, he's been training for grid only.
Yeah. I want to give him a shout-out for this because this is like if there's any other athletes out there listening, this is exactly how an athlete should respond to the input he got, right? First of all, he asked for help. And somebody was kind enough, coaches and the team enough, to give him help, to give him some guidance. Then he took the guidance and went 100 miles an hour with it, right? So here's an athlete who wants to do this for a living, obviously has a huge love for the sport, as new as it is, that's what you have to. That's the kind of athlete you have to be when you're talking about professional, right?
Absolutely. And if people haven't seen the interview that we had with him in LA, please check it out. Check it out at our website at thegridcast.com. Check out the James Townsend interview. It's really cool. He talked about how he's doing this for his kids and his wife. And dude, this guy's going to be an amazing closer for LA Reign. It's what they've actually been needing. 335-pound 2-rep clean and jerk, he can do that crap in his sleep.
Like nothing.
And he
I think people are going to be
up.
really surprised at how powerful and fast football players are.
Oh, he's explosive.
Yeah.
He's amazing. And 185-pound thruster is going to be no problem for him. So he's going to be the perfect closer.
Day.
Oh, all day. So, so they had also these burpee box jump overs, 36 inches. The dude didn't even touch the box.
Didn't touch the box.
And just bounded. Now, what's funny is that Nick, your anchor, when we talked to him, said, all you need to do is just kind of learn how to land like in the right position as you're doing those burpee box jump overs, and no one's going to be able to touch you. And he's absolutely right.
Right,
the dude was the standout.
I kind of crawl over the box. That's my style.
I do this backwards roll thing because that's all I can do.
Yeah.
I look like a polar bear with my big white ass up there.
That's a beautiful picture. Hopefully we can edit a good video of a polar bear flipping over for this.
That'd be perfect.
So let's talk about how James Townsend does it, though.
Yeah. Well, so he was actually a standout at the LA Pro Dates. Even when the day after he was signed, they had a lot of the pros came in and did an exhibition match, and he was a standout among the pros. So he wasn't just like, oh, hey, I'm new to the league, I'm going to play catch up, or I'm going to be low key. No. This dude's going to be a freaking star starting next year, guaranteed. Yep. Okay, so let's talk about a little further up the coast to San Francisco. So San Francisco signed Sarah Hopping Australia. So anybody in the USAW world knows who this person is. She is definitely a barbell specialist. She was a silver medalist at the American Open this past time that we were there, actually, which is pretty cool. She was an NCAA All-American in the hammer throw for track and field. She was a bronze medalist at the Nationals this past year, and at the Olympic trials in 2008, she also was a bronze medalist there as well. So she's going to be pretty amazing. But you know who that sounds familiar to?
I think we know somebody else
like Taylor Stallings, MVP of the league last year.
Track star,
right?
Power weightlifter,
turned grid athlete.
That's it.
Yeah, so she's going to be really, really, really fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a continuing theme here with power, explosive, move quick, get through. I mean, these are the kind of people that are going to excel in grid. Right?
Absolutely.
No slow-moving endurance events.
And then did you think that the DC Brawlers were going to sit back on their laurels and be like, you know what, we were the champions last year, we don't have to do big?
No, we know they're not.
No, hell no. No. They went straight out the gates. As soon as the signings were possible for these teams, they ran right out there and got Becca Day.
Yep.
So Becca Day, right out the gates, barbell specialist, cleans 305 pounds. Excuse me?
Excuse me?
Front squats 355.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know what's kind of cool is actually she got signed on to the DC Brawlers on her birthday.
It's an awesome birthday present, right?
Happy birthday. That's kind of cool. So then after that, they followed that up with hiring Nick Del Grande. That dude is going to be a utility player. And I know that a lot of the teams are starting to go to the specialist.
I can already see that on his T-shirt. Del Grande.
Del Grande.
Sounds
That's
good.
That's fun to say. Del Grande. So anyway, so that guy.
Hopefully he's okay with that.
That dude was the number one pick last year for the 2014, right after the combines.
Yep.
Has 207 Fran, 204 Grace, clean jerks 335, snatches 265, deadlifts 500. And even though he's a utility player, that dude's got some strength.
Right.
He can also do 68 straight pull-ups.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah,
he's gonna be a big addition to that team.
So Xena the Warrior Princess Christine Andali was also signed by the DC Brawlers, right?
Yeah, they were getting busy, right?
Oh.
Just signing one after the other.
She was a former Philly Founders athlete. She in the Canada East Regionals, she took third place in 2014. She was in the 2013 Games Open and placed 25th overall worldwide. Pretty amazing. She snatches 170, cleans 235, front squats 275, and has a back squat of 300. 228 Fran, 157 Diane, and 154 Grace.
Crazy times.
That girl
Crazy
is a
times.
beast. And then their last athlete they signed for DC Brawlers is Cassidy Lance. Extremely good gymnast, competed in college at University of Washington, UW. What up? Sorry, I got some family in UW. So anyway, she... unfortunately, though, she has torn her ACL 5 different times. So that's going to be something we got to watch with Cassie Lance. I don't know how that's going to help her or hurt her with her longevity. So we got to see how that unfolds. And then she was also a games athlete in 2013, plays pretty well. So anyway, so those are all of the players that have been signed so far. And if we got any of that information wrong, please hit us up.
Yeah, so we do the best we can to research all this stuff and reach out and get all the best information. But if you guys know something we don't, hit us up. Let us know.
Hit us up, yeah, and then we'll give you credit for it, put it out on the podcast next time. And so anyway, so enough with the teams that exist right now. Let's talk about the expansion teams in Quadrant 2.
Quadrant 2. Here we go. Hey, welcome back, folks. Here we are in Quadrant 2. So this time what we're going to do is we're going to break down the new expansion teams, dig into them a little bit and talk about who they've signed, why those folks are important or why we think they're important, what they're going to bring to the teams, and let's do it, Danny.
So
what kind of data are we looking at?
Carolina Crush is crushing it by bringing in 2 very strong female athletes. So there's an interview actually on the NPGL website. You can check out the head coach of Carolina Crush. Talks about how he wanted to build the team from strong females up. And they proved it by signing on the double Hannahs. That's right. That sounds possibly dirty, the double Hannahs.
All right, well, we didn't mean it that way. Let's just – how about
the 2 Hannahs?
The 2 Hannahs.
The 2 Hannahs.
The 2 Hannahs.
Okay,
sorry, ladies.
So you got Hannah Caldas. She is a barbell specialist. So she spent 20 years in sprint swimming, and she just barely missed the 2012 Olympics.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and she also has a PhD in molecular medicine.
I can't even spell that. She's got a PhD in it.
I had to look it up when I put the notes up on the board.
How do you spell molecular?
I remember when we were shocked by the 305-pound clean before? She also has a 305-pound clean. And last year at the Combines, she had a grade 3 high ankle sprain and got to see all of her friends get signed on by all these teams, and she had to watch from afar on the grid season.
So she's got some fire in her, right?
Yeah. Oh, she's got some huge fire.
Or some crush in her,
and
sorry.
She said, yeah.
She's ready to crush.
She got the gorilla crush, right? And then this signing, she said, is a culmination of a dream for her.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Good job, Hannah. I'm very proud of you. That's awesome. So then there's Hannah Richards. She is the opposite. She is the bodyweight specialist. So you got a barbell specialist and a bodyweight specialist. She is also in swimming, and she was in gymnastics since she was like 4 years old, something like that. She was actually a state champion in pole vault in high school. Kind of cool.
Yeah. I did a little bit of pole vault in high school. I sucked at it.
Did you really?
Yeah, I was in track.
I can't picture you doing pole vault.
It's a lot harder than it looks, that's for sure.
I bet.
Before we go a little bit farther, though, so we always keep talking about how so-and-so's a specialist of this, so-and-so's a specialist of that. It's going to be really interesting, right, to see if we're wrong, right? If we peg someone as a barbell specialist and they come out and just crush all the bodyweight stuff.
Perfect
it's
example.
Be awesome.
Perfect example. Sarah Beth Phillips.
Yes, that's where I was going.
Right?
Yep.
Badass gymnast. Oh, hey, guess what? She got first place in the American Open.
Boom.
And she lifts barbells like a mofo.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Now, a lot of these bodyweight specialists, even though they're badasses, that they can also lift a whole lot of weight. So they're perfect in those middle quadrants, right?
Yep.
So they're going to crank out still those weights that aren't the heavy, got to crank out those really, really heavy clean and jerks and last ones. Those are for the closers.
Right.
But a lot of these gymnasts, because weightlifting is gymnastics around a bar, right?
Yep,
so
exactly.
A lot of these gymnasts, it becomes natural to them is once they start building up that muscle around them, they can just kind of crank out those easy middle quadrant races like a.
Yep. It's going to be interesting to watch these 2 ladies perform for Carolina. I think it's a good signing for them.
Yeah, Hannah Richards, she's known for her cycle speed. Right? So cycle speed in gymnastics, cycle speed in the barbell too. So she's going to be a big powerhouse, I think, for Carolina Crush. So now let's go on to what everyone has been waiting for. I know, the Baltimore Anthem. They made some huge splashes, right?
Go big or go home.
Go big or go home.
They did it.
So let's get to the big one. Dmitry Klokov was the first one signed by the Baltimore Anthem. I remember Con and I were at the bar. Go figure.
So we do most of our thinking.
Yeah, of course.
Not drinking.
And we looked on our news feed and saw the Dmitry Klokov was signed, and that is amazing. And so I'm sure you guys know who he is, but just in case if you don't, He was a world champion weightlifter in 2005, took third place in 2006 and 7, silver medalist in 2008 Olympics, and was silver medalist in 2011 World Weightlifting Championship as well. He also tours the world teaching people how to weightlift better. He also did a huge snatch ladder at the championships last year for the NPGL, which was really fun. It's just an exhibition thing.
And I think he only missed the gold in the world championships by just like a
2
kilo.
kilos.
2 kilos, right?
2 kilos by a fellow Russian.
Yeah. So, I mean, he was when it comes to weightlifting, he is definitely, a powerhouse.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then then his business partner is Igor Zaripov. Now, I think I pronounced the last name right.
Yeah, hopefully.
Maybe you have to try with the Russian accent. It's Igor Zaripov.
There you go.
Maybe that's better. I don't know. So anyway.
I can't do it with a southern drawl.
So that dude is a fourth generation of famous Russian circus dynasty called the Zaripovs. He's also in Cirque du Soleil. He spent 20 years in the circus industry and traveling around with them.
And his whole family, right? I mean, that's where the whole family comes from. It's like fourth generation. It's crazy.
So I talked to Garrett Smith. He is the coach for the Baltimore Anthem. He was on one of our episodes. I think it was episode 3 or 4, something like that. Yeah. Anyway, so I caught up with Garrett out in L.A. Since that signing. I kind of asked him some of the stories about Dimitri and Igor. So those guys, they're teaching each other their own specialists, which is badass. Right. So
maybe it's because nobody else can understand them. They have to work together. But no, that is a cool deal when you get a weightlifter and a gymnastics expert, and they start trading, training tips and how skill sets and plus both of those guys, just based off their athletic career, that they know how to train, how to prepare, how to put in the time, the effort, just the dedication that you need. They know how to do that stuff. So when you cross those two together, that's going to be like crossing the streams in Ghostbusters. Like
you don't cross the streams. You never cross the streams.
Only when you want to blow up the Marshmallow Man.
Yeah, that's right. Stay Puff. No, so I went. I've seen Klokov actually do about an hour and a half seminar before. I was actually at the CrossFit Games last year, and I can just imagine him going to Igor. When you Americans, when you lift weights, you use hips like this. No, this is for sex. This is for lifting. So,
if you're listening to the audio version, it was very vulgar. Danny was doing hip thrusts with a pretend barbell.
Don't hate. No, but
that's a very good.
It is true though, right?
Yeah.
It's up, right? So I'm a weightlifting guy, so that's kind of my jam. But anyway, so. On top of that, which is awesome, they signed these. Oh, yeah, no. I totally forgot to talk about Igor. So Igor, when I talked to Garrett Smith, he was doing these rope climbs, and Garrett Smith was sitting there timing him. And so Igor, being the Cirque du Soleil guy, as he was climbing the rope, he let the rope spiral in his lap, right? As he was doing legless rope climbs.
It's like
all the way up, adding another 20 pounds.
Could you imagine climbing a rope with the whole thing in your lap?
And Garrett was like, dude, you don't have to let it coil and rope in your lap. You can just let it dangle down. He goes, oh, that's too easy. It's like no big deal to this guy. I can't wait to see what kind of stuff he can do.
I hope he does that in a match.
Insane. Yeah, of course. That's
That'd be hilarious.
Awesome. And then, they signed also Matt Frazier.
Boom.
This dude, in his rookie year for competing in the CrossFit Games, got second place last year just behind the champ, Rich Froning.
Yeah. That's no chump change right there.
Last year he was on the New York Rhinos, and he was considered their barbell specialist. Right. He did not want to do that shit anymore. He said, barbell is not my jam. Yeah. He became a free agent. As soon as Baltimore Anthem signed Klokov, said, you know what, I really want to be part of you guys. I know Klokov's going to be that Quadrant 4 guy.
That's to say that it's not necessarily his deal. It is, right? I mean, he's really good at it, but you don't want to get pegged like that, right? He knew he had more to offer, I think.
Well, he considers himself a utility player leaning on weightlifting.
There you go.
Like that's how he views himself, but he wasn't utilized that.
And I love that about this whole sport of grid, man. It's just you in all these other functional fitness, sports that we've been dealing with over the last 10 years, 12 years, whatever. Now it's really starting to play out like other sports are, where you've got these. You can carve out your little niche, right? And this is what I'm good at, but I can also help over here. So now when you start merging all these, it really comes down to, just like with football or soccer or hockey, when you're picking your players and you're putting together your team, it becomes an art, not a science, right?
Absolutely.
And that's, we've seen, if you probably give Fire and you give the Brawlers some credit for doing some of that the first season. They put together some crazy good teams, not to take anything away from the other teams. But I think the other teams are doing the same thing this year. I think that's what we're seeing is starting to meld those athletes together and figuring out, you don't have to have a bunch of folks that are just good. I mean, for sure, they've got to be explosive, powerful, fast. Cycle times have got to be there, all that for sure. But then how do they work together? How does that mesh?
That team dynamic is going to be rough.
Which going back to Dimitri and Igor, I think is going to be it's going to be fun to watch. How that plays out, whether it works or whether it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
I'll give Garrett his due. I'm sure he's got a plan for that. But just watching these two people that literally look like they're on the other ends of the spectrum, but then they're working together already. You put them on a team together. One thing that's going to be fun is to see, I hope whoever's translating for him, right, is getting everything.
Well,
the rules is going to be tough, right?
Yeah, I was even thinking about that too. So how are they even going to communicate? I mean, just the simple thing, at least – most all the other players, they speak English fluently as their first language. When you're in the box and you do a hard workout and you're exhausted, I call it getting WOD drunk, right? You're totally WOD drunk. Your brain's not quite there. What are they going to be at the fatigue state? How are they going to communicate between the players saying, you know what, I really don't think I'm going to be able to hit that lift.
Hand and arm signals.
Yeah. How are you going to do it? Seriously.
But you know what? I think what comes from training as a team, and you know this, Danny, and I think our viewers do too, that as long as they do train together enough, you almost don't have to communicate. It's almost an eye to an eye, kind of like it's a little flinch. It's a nod. You just know, right?
You know what's going to help that too is, rumor has it, is that Dmitry Klokov actually is moving to Maryland to train full time with the Baltimore Anthem or near the site. I
mean, that's got to happen eventually. I mean, it's going to be really hard for these athletes to be virtual, right?
Oh, yeah.
And not really live with. I mean, maybe it's like in other professional sports where in season they live, wherever their team is, and out of season they might, go live somewhere else. Obviously, that could happen. But at some point, you're going to see, I think, most of the athletes living and training, on site with the team. And I think we're going to see an explosion in the sport when that's all happening, meaning that's just going to get ridiculous. It's going to get even better. All the performance out on the grid once that starts happening.
Yeah. And then, so moving on from those players, you also got the first 40-plus female athletes signing, and that was with also the Baltimore Anthem with Elizabeth Warren. And all we know so far of her, at least as far as what I could find, is what her grid score numbers were. 13 muscle-ups in 80 seconds. She did 20 90-pound thrusters in 40 seconds, and she has 175-pound 2-rep clean and jerk. So that's what I know of her so far, but it is finally refreshing to see a 40-plus athlete get signed by somebody.
Right.
None of the other teams even have that yet. Yep. So that was finally good to see that. And that actually happened today while I was doing my show prep. Actually, I saw that it popped up that Elizabeth Warren was signed. So that was actually a brand new signing.
Yeah, and that's good. No, it's good for the 40-plus athletes because I'm sure there's a lot of them out there that are waiting to see how this plays out, how they can help the teams, how they can get signed by a team. I mean, we've got a girl in our own gym, right?
I was just about to say that.
Right? We got Tracy
Close.
Yeah.
Go ahead, girl.
So she just turned 40, which means she's got a long way to go, meaning she can provide a lot of good years there. So I know that there's a lot of people out there like Tracy who want to play this sport. They've got an opportunity to do it, an age category where they can still provide, help the team out. And now to see one signed, then you think, hey, maybe I got a chance, right? So that's awesome, yeah. Hope to see a lot more of it.
And then the last athlete that we're going to talk about is a girl named Kate Brierly. She's 22 years old. She was formerly on the Philly Founders. She's pretty amazing. And Kate, if you're watching out there or listening out there, contact us.
Yeah, big props.
I'd love to get you some of your story in the background. All I could get is what is on the internet. I'd love to get an interview and talk with you a little bit. But anyway, so she has 62 unbroken handstand push-ups. That's pretty badass. She has a clean and jerk of 2-rep, clean and jerk of 205 pound, and she has a 170-pound snatch. She was signed by the Philly Founders last year. So thus, when the Philly Founders shut their doors, she became a free agent. And but what really makes her kind of special is that at 19 years old, well, probably before that, she was actually a former drug addict. At 19 years old, she found herself really down in the dumps. Near death is how she described it. She went to someone, and they gave her shelter, they gave her food, they gave her clothes, and they gave her really, really important counseling. The amazing thing is, in 18 months, she was invited to the combines.
That's crazy.
So 18 months later, that's one hell of a turnaround,
that's
right?
Awesome.
She says that functional fitness changed her life. So I have a quote, if you want to step aside just a little bit. I have a quote from her that I thought was really touching to me. It said, "On the last rep, when it really hurts, and I want to let go of the bar, the pain doesn't compare to what I went through, and I didn't get sober to go to meetings to talk about the good old times. I got sober to have an awesome life, and I do."
Yeah, that's all. That is.
Dude, I got goosebumps
Chill bumps, right?
right there.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
Holy
she sounds
cow.
like a great girl. Hopefully we can get her on the GridCast because I think she'd be a great role model for a lot of people.
Hell
Just
yeah.
with your story, it'd be good stuff.
And, in 18 months, she was able to think about what she accomplished in 18 months.
Yeah.
Now it's a year later. What the hell can she do now?
Yeah.
Right? We have all the stats from a year ago. I don't know what she can do right now.
Right.
I bet she's beasting it out there. Right? So that's it for this quadrant. In quadrant 3, we Coach Khan actually talked with Mike Lee of the Phoenix Rise. And so without further ado, let's just kick it on over to quadrant 3.
Hey, welcome to Quadrant 3 here on the GridCast. Today's special guest, we've got Mike Lee, head coach of the Phoenix Rise. Thanks for being with us, Mike.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, Dan. So, hey, look, for those viewers or listeners who might not know much about you, give us an opportunity to hear your story, your background. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. My journey, I guess, in fitness started off at a CrossFit in Los Angeles. Coming out of high school and college, played sports my entire life. Now water polo, so actually pool sports was my thing, swimming and water polo growing up. From that, after college, just kind of needed something, as a lot of us did, that found CrossFit. And eventually, I just started doing it more regularly, enjoyed the coaching process. Had a couple coaches at high levels kind of mentor me in the process of training, and became more and more interested as a coach over time. I was still engineering full-time as I was doing the coaching piece. And over time, just finally through James and some life coaching pieces, just decided to take on a full-time coaching role. And James offered me a position here at OPEX full-time about 2 years ago.
So
and
James, that's James Fitzgerald. For those
Yes.
of you that may not know, some of our listeners or viewers, that is one of the OGs of CrossFit.
Yes, 2007 champ.
That's it. Yeah. Love to always give him props.
Right. So first ever CrossFit Games champion. But James and I just clicked really well. He helped me through a lot of things in my life personally, and making a big decision. Obviously, from switching to an engineering career, a 9 to 5, and coming out here to OPEX to build our on-site model as well as just grow the business in general. So that's kind of my stint of how I came from athletics into coaching, and obviously just being here a coach for the last 2 years. James and John Callahan presented me with the opportunity of being the head coach for the Phoenix Rise, and from there, the rest is history.
Yeah, that's an awesome opportunity, man. So before we get too much into to Rise, I want to back up, and I just want to give an opportunity to give our folks a little background on OPEX, because I think it's a great company. I think you guys are doing phenomenal stuff. So I want to give you guys some props and give you a chance to tell everybody what OPEX is about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have a couple facets to our business. We do exclusive coaching, which is online. Exclusive coaching is our on-site model, which is individualized prescriptions. But so everyone's doing their on-site training in our facility in the individual model setting. And then we have CCP, which is our coaches certificate program, which is essentially James's ability to coach coaches. So those are the three avenues of our business that we really pride ourselves on. So that's essentially kind of what we are as a business, and what we do. And those that know James understand his passion for fitness.
For sure.
Just helping people understand what the true value of fitness and how it can be so fulfilling in life. And I think that's something that truly, when I wake up, I want to coach people, and I think that's something that we're trying to build on is get more coaches to feel like that and service our clients the best as possible, and them understanding that at OPEX we have nothing but full-time coaches. Everyone here works full-time as a coach, and that's all we think about every second of every day. So we have a group, now of 8 coaches in total, and all we do is collaborate every day. So our system is just continuing to get stronger and stronger as we build, under the direction of who I think is one of the best fitness educators, of our time currently.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. And if you wanted to find out more about OPEX, is it opex.com?
OPEXfit.com would be the website that you would find everything on.
Cool, opexfit.com.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So that gets us pretty much to where we're at currently, where you're working at OPEX. Some guys put together the team, and you're the head coach. Yep. So one of the questions I always have for folks that are involved in coaching in the grid, just because I'm curious about it, is what do you think is the difference, or is there a difference between coaching for the sport of grid versus the sport of CrossFit or functional fitness, sport, competitive sport? How does that work out?
Yeah, for sure. With the athletes that ask that question, because I've had a lot of people, ask a similar question. It's what I call intent. So the intent of being involved in a grid match is far different than the intent of being in a CrossFit workout. CrossFit sometimes portrays the struggle and that long essence of being able to grind through things. And as you know, as someone that's a grid fan and watches it readily, there's none of that in grid. It's about power and intensity and how fast you can get people to move. So the explanation of the intent of someone to be a part of a grid match is how fast you can do something, and CrossFit's how I think how you can survive, and how you can map your way through it to be as best as possible. To whereas I never worried about people surviving because we had substitutions and fast movement and in and out. It was never that. It was how fast you could do it so that I could either transition onto the next bit of movements or sub you out to get another person in.
Yeah. So as a coach, though, how do you approach an athlete? Do you approach an athlete who's training for CrossFit different than you approach an athlete that's training for grid?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
And how would you do that? What do you think the difference is?
Yeah, okay, yeah, for sure. So the systems involved, in terms of a grid athlete, there obviously is a major presence on their ability to produce power. They also have to be able to recover between those power efforts. So, the aerobic system, which is also something very big in the sport of CrossFit, is definitely prevalent, and something that you have to have is to be able to recover from an intense effort and be able to repeat it again and again. So muscle endurance in that system to do repetitive, powerful movements is so important for grid. So whereas CrossFit, we actually don't want to see some of that power up front. We want to see actually you dampened a little bit so that you can't get to that escalated point where you're almost failing, you're almost fatiguing, because you usually have 6 more workouts to do. So it's honestly about the dampening process for a CrossFit athlete, to ensure that when they are going through the movements, they're not producing too much power up front and going too intense or into the glycolytic phase. So it's just honing them back and almost doing work overloaded, so they can never get to that point. And to whereas a grid athlete like Danny and the folks that we have on our squad, we're looking to just get them big, strong, and powerful, and have them ready to do 15 repetitions as fast as possible and sprint out.
Sure. So let's dive in that maybe from a different angle a little bit. A few weeks back, or actually a few months ago, I think I was on the OPEX site, and I think it's on the membership site, which I want to let everybody know is well worth the money. And you had an article on there called Training and Design for Grid. And I thought it was an excellent article. And could you give us some ideas? So one of the questions we get a lot here on the GridCast, when we're at the pro days, when we're visiting teams and watching them train and watching potential athletes, grid athletes, is the question of, okay, so now I know the kind of the difference between a functional fitness test, a sport, and grid as a sport, totally different sports, trained from differently. So what does that really mean? If I'm an athlete out there, or maybe I'm a coach training athletes, what should I focus on? What should I do? How should I train differently? What are the real nuggets that get that power, that speed that we're talking about?
Yeah, well, strength training is always an absolute strength. Is always a great first step into producing power. So that system has to be on point. And if you do get a chance to read that article as you did, we structured the days to ensure that almost daily there was some sort of CP component or weightlifting absolute strength piece that could keep their systems where it needed to be. Because in the management of the CNS, to ensure that they're primed and ready to go, the season was fairly short, last year. And when they came in, we didn't have that much prep time. So we worked on the characteristics that are involved in the potential matches or in grid in general as a sport, and then put those front-end CP pieces to support the overall characteristics of what we were going into. So if there was touch and go, hang power cleans, we were doing an ascending ladder EMOM at 245 or 225, increasing 5 pounds a minute until failure. That type of thing, where it's speed work and prepping them for the characteristics that are going to be involved in the match. So that's kind of the components that we looked at in a very short time frame that we put our athletes through to get them prepped and ready for essentially the matches. Now that we have a longer time span, you can spend a lot more time in the efficiencies and the mechanics of producing absolute strength and getting them strong and powerful to then go into matches. So I think if I were to look at now the time frame of what the athletes are doing now until season, the training that they're going through looks slightly different. And I would say generally it's absolute strength dominated with lactic power, which is what we call power intervals. If you're an OPEX geek, you know exactly what that is. If not, it's that time frame, anywhere from 20 to 30 seconds up into that 2:33 minute range of shitty shit, as James would so eloquently say, is just that tough and rough, a lot of repetitions at high speed and high power. That has to be on point. That system is so prevalent. What we saw is to be a great grid avatar athlete.
So looking forward to season coming up. We got pro days going on, combine coming up. A lot of athletes trying to get to the grid. One of the things that I'm seeing and hearing, and I'm looking for your opinion on this, is let's look forward 2, 3, 4, 5 years into the future of grid. Do you think the athletes that we're seeing today are going to be the same type of athletes? Meaning, there's a lot of generalists out there. Right? Yep. They just are. They came into the sport that way, but then we're seeing some specialists kind of evolve. Is there still going to be room for generalists? Is it going to be all specialists? What's your thoughts on that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, I talk about one of our athletes, and most people would say he's a generalist, and that's Marcus Philly. And I would argue that Marcus is one of the most, he's one of the best athletes in the sport, just because of his ability to do everything. You have to have individuals like that because I believe they support the overall cast of the mesh of the team. For someone to be able to go do 50 chest bar chin-ups, then rest a little bit and be able to do power clean and jerk unbroken for 15 repetitions. Whereas a specialist, if they're barbell versus gymnastics, they're not necessarily, they may not be able to do those things. So I always think there's going to be room for that fit avatar in that mold in the league. I don't think you're going to see guys like Matt Frazier and Marcus go anywhere, because you can see in the mold of the matches how much they were used. We kicked the shit out of Marcus, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And he took it because they're resilient, good athletes. So I think those guys are always going to have a place. To where specialists, you're seeing guys come out of the woodwork. LA signed James Townsend, I think his name is.
Yep.
God, that guy is incredible in terms of his ability to produce power. He's similar to Danny-esque type of individual. So, and Klokoff now, and you're going to see more guys like that come out. But I don't think it goes away from the ability and the need to have people like a Marcus or an Emily Pale on the female side that can do everything. Because there's such a great supporting cast for those, headliners, we'll call them.
Yep, and I tend to agree from a coaching standpoint, looking at it and looking at long term. You're right. There's going to be a place for. Just like any team sport, right? There's going to be the people that are just really shine at certain individual things, and then you got those workhorses.
Yep.
You got to have, right?
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, I swear, if you ask Marcus and Em, they honestly were told consistently, like, you're a workhorse, and this is what you need to do in terms of work. And yeah, I mean, you count up. It's always interesting. I always wanted to, go back and look at the data of how many repetitions people did per match, and like just count up the number of repetitions that those guys did. Yeah, it'd just be cool to see who those individuals were for all teams, because I think you see a pretty reoccurring theme. It's avatars that look like those two individuals.
Right, and let's talk about a workhorse that both of us know in different ways. Sarah Beth Phillips.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So she would be considered, very gymnastic, focused, right? Yet we ran into her at the American Open where she stood on the podium, right? Because she's strong as a beast,
Yep.
And when we talked to her, she gave a lot of credit to your coaching to help her get there.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of folks out there will think, hey, how does that work? How do you coach an athlete that's somewhere else? How do you come across that? If you're an athlete out there looking for a coach, maybe it's OPEX, or maybe they're going somewhere else. Give us some insight to how that works and how you're able to pull that off, because I think a lot of people kind of wonder about that.
Yeah. Well, our system, OPEX, is obviously founded off James's ability to create a great infrastructure here at OPEX for us to support a lot of people. So that's why I just commented on the mass number of coaches we have here, because that support system is what drives us all to be better and attract more clients, essentially. We have clients calling consistently through our OPEX funnel that want us to coach them. So it hasn't been something that it's brand new, and there's a lot of different coaches out there. And my unique perspective and how Sarah Beth and I got hooked up was essentially, I noticed that, and I like to evaluate talent. I'm always looking and kind of feeling things out, and I noticed her at the initial Vegas Combine, and just over time, we started having conversations, and there was a real honesty between both of us in terms of what I expected from clients. And my athletes, and then I could see the drive and passion about what she wanted to accomplish, and that to me just is it. If I have an athlete come on board that's like that, it's a very easy sell on my part to take them on as a client. She has this knack, and I tell everyone that it's so hard to coach the ability to always want to get better and be the best possible athlete that she can be without anything else aside. She is one of those individuals that I really enjoy coaching, because she every day we're in contact, we're in consistent communication. That's kind of how the system works. Is I remotely send her a design every single week, and we're consistently in feedback back and forth, whether via email, text, videos, etc. And with an athlete like that, once the consistency and accountability is developed, it's less on my part to check in, constantly all the time. It's more on her that she knows that she's accountable to get X, Y, and Z done, to sleep a number of hours, to eat a certain way, etc. And if she doesn't, I'll call her on it, and she knows that.
Yeah.
And that's the gorgeous thing about it, is she's taken the steps to really take that on and challenge me on it, and ensure that she has all the lifestyle components in place to make the changes necessary for her to be the best possible.
Awesome, man. Thanks for giving us some insight on that. And we really appreciate you being on the GridCast today. Thanks for your time. And again, let's just give some props out to OPEX. Again, that's OPEX FIT.
OPEX Fit.
OPEXFit.com. Check them out. They got great stuff. Lots of good opportunities for coaches and athletes both. And thanks for your time today, man.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, take care.
Alrighty.
Hey, here we are back in Quadrant 4. Quadrant 3, we had Mike Lee from Phoenix Rise, man, and I really appreciated the interview. If you couldn't tell in the interview, I'm a huge fan of OPEX and what those folks are doing out there. Been tracking them for years, and if you haven't checked them out, please go do so. And so this is.
Oh, it's our last. It's our last show at this studio.
Yeah.
We took a month off to kind of build the studio space that we had before, and we were planning on having this episode in our new studio, but it's not quite done because, sorry, Commish, you told us to come out to the LA Pro Days, and
it was the best
that was
advice
the
ever.
Best advice ever. You were totally correct.
Yeah.
But you know that pushed our new studio space back a week.
Yep. So we should have it done this week, and then next episode we'll be in there, and it's just going to be a little different, not much different. We're still going to have our GridCast stuff in there, but it'd just be kind of cooler to be working in there.
And it's an investment on the show.
Right.
We saw the show was growing. We got great responses from you guys. Thank you so much for responding to us.
Yeah. Thanks for all the support
positivity
from those out there that gave us support. We really appreciate it.
It's been amazing, and that's the whole reason why we are reinvesting in the show, getting a whole new space for us to do the show. It's incredible, and we have.
Did we put out the dates for the Pro Days coming up? I don't think we did we?
Yes, we did.
Oh. Well, the reason I asked that is because we might have a big announcement at the DC Pro Days about a new sponsor.
Oh, hey,
yeah,
that's
so,
correct.
So we'll see how that, if we can get everything finished before the DC Pro Days, we're going to announce it there.
Cross
We're
fingers.
really excited about it, and wouldn't be able to do that without all the folks that are listening and viewing us and helping us out. It's been great. Yep.
That's right. So speaking of those Pro Days, DC Pro Days, February 28th through March 1st. I got Miami right after that, March 7th through March 8th. Charlotte, March 13th through 15th. And San Francisco, March 27th through 29th. And we are going to be at the DC Pro Days. So if you want to come out, come meet the cast. We're going to be at the DC Pro Days and the Charlotte.
And Charlotte, yeah.
So
and I'm going to be coming in from Boston straight to Charlotte.
Hell yeah, on a jet plane, straight from watching Dropkick Murphys in Boston right before St. Patty's Day.
Doesn't suck.
Oh, my God, doesn't suck. Are you kidding me?
You guys go to L.A., I go to Cancun, you go to Charlotte. Hey, that's what I'm supposed to be doing, having fun.
You know what?
We're out of beer.
But you know what that means?
We got to wrap it up. But before we do, one last little tasty taste of Fireball just to knock this old studio out. Next time you see this, if you ever see it, it won't be the GridCast studios.
This is kind of be like what's going to be behind us.
Yeah.
In the new studio, but
refreshed.
See you later. The humble beginnings are growing a little bit, right?
Thanks, everybody.
In the meantime, clean up your jerks and snatches, drink your beer in batches, and always dominate your grid matches. See you later, guys.
See ya.